Ping. How are you?
I'm going good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm thankful to be here. I wake up every day and I try to have gratitude. Um, it's funny that you and I talked. Well, we talked yesterday, and um, where you had sent me an email saying like, "Hey, sorry, my phone is going crazy." You had sent me an email saying we talked about a shooting, and guess what happened? And the sad part about it is that it seems to be happening every day. So I know we want to talk about that tonight. I started to tell you before we were off air, like one of the things that's driving me crazy, and I'm going to be a girl for a second, so bear with me. Um, we have a well, and we were having some pressure issues with it, and we got it all fixed. But now, you know when you stay in a hotel and they have like an indoor pool and it just reeks of chlorine? Um, that is what our water smells like right now. And it's safe to use. I mean, we have like filters for drinking and stuff, but I haven't washed my hair, and I actually have leave-in conditioner right in it right now because it is so if the word is, I know it's chlorinated, but I say chlorini. It's so chlorini right now. Everybody else in this house has that white blonde hair. I'm scared to death I'm going to get in there and it's going to bleach my hair like orange, and I'm going to come out looking like a troll doll. So I have very dirty conditioner hair right now, and it feels nasty because it's 100 degrees. So, but I am grateful that I am here. How are you?
I'm all right. Your household must look like when you were growing up, there was always that friend who had a swimming pool, and all the kids who had the bleach blonde hair all had green hair at the end of the summer.
Yeah, we don't have the green hair problem anymore. They kind of fixed that. But yeah, I mean, the genetic code through this house is like white blonde hair, natural. And so they can like stand under that stuff all day long. Me, I know I come out looking like an H2O2 mama, like I put sun in my hair or something, or it would fall out.
Do they even still sell Sun-In?
Yes, because I happened to see it on somebody's bathroom counter not that long ago, and I kind of giggled to myself.
Yeah, I thought it was an 80s product.
They still make it.
All right, Miss Amy, do you want to talk about the the horrible events of yesterday very quickly?
I do. I do. So let me, I have some assets here. Let me just stick these on here real quick. So, first of all, I'm going to address something real quick. I know I have the suspected shooter's image on the thumbnail, and I know that's controversial for a lot of people. Um, I'm not going to say his name, but I am going to put his picture up there, unless you totally disagree with me. And then because you're my partner, I will take it down. But I want the people that were around him all the time, that looked the other way, that didn't say anything. I mean, ultimately, he has to take accountability for his actions. But from what we're discovering, this person did not have a great track record. And I'm sorry, I believe this was preventable. And so I want his haunting face up there for the people that I don't even know how to express how I feel about it, honestly. Um, I'll go through the slides, jump in whenever, please, and thank you. And I will tell you guys, we are having some audio problems, so we're having to alternate muting ourselves. We are troubleshooting the heck out of this. We don't know what's going on, and I think we're going to have to call in the professionals because I understand that it is annoying, and I am so sorry. Please know that definitely have worked on this quite some time. Hi, Emily. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Maggie. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so
Yeah,
that
we are definitely looking into what's causing it, but we're not 100% sure. We've gone through every setting, everything we can think of. But later this week, I will have my own microphone and I'll be wearing a headset instead. So those two audio sources should be separated completely, and hopefully that might fix the issue.
yeah, I hope so because it it just like we're self-conscious about it because we, you know, we're trying to put the time and effort into this, and then something out of our control happens and we're like, ah. So anyway, um so the picture I have up on the screen is the childhood home of the alleged shooter. And I guess we could say his last name. And, you know, Ping, is it Cremo? Is that how they're saying it? I've heard it so many ways.
I heard Cremo.
All right, let's say Cremo. So this is the Cremo childhood home. It's a nice suburban area in, you know, Highland Park. Um, from what we understand, he had uh, you know, a good upbringing. This is his father, Bob Cremo, and his mom, Denise Piscina. Now, Bob actually was a mayoral candidate at one point. He was kind of a pillar of the community. He was told, you know, we're told that um, the he owned like a sandwich shop, but the kids in the neighborhood liked him because he, you know, he would give out candy. He was just a nice guy. And mom is kind of a different story. There seems to be some stories about mom being very overbearing, making excuses for her son, maybe sometimes being neglectful. Stories about the shooter or the alleged shooter and his brother being left at like football practice when they were little, and like the coach having to call the parents like, hey, you need to come get your kid, and then and mom being kind of like put out by that. So um you know, there you go. That's kind of what we know here. um
Amy, do you think that's kind of like where the parents have done that thing like, oh, well, we work all the time, and it's like the busy parent routine?
mm, I think so, yeah, unfortunately.
That's a
um
shame. I think a lot of kids go through that growing up, but there's ways to do it properly, and then there's ways to, you know, not
yeah,
do it, I guess.
yeah, and it's not necessarily like I'm Gen X, so like I mean, and I had good parents, but my sister and I were just talking about this morning. Like sometimes, like my stepchildren are 13 and 12. Sometimes I'll get up, we're all getting ready, and they're just sitting there and they're like, they're hungry. And I'm like, there's cereal. Like every morning we tell them there's cereal, there's fruit, there's oatmeal. Like they're old enough. Like, but they like sit there like baby birds with their mouths open. Like my mom, like if my sister and I miss the bus or we're late to school or something, like my mom wasn't one of those cool moms that would call the school and like get us out of it. She'd be like, "Oh, that's your job. You're late. Don't know what to tell you." You know what I mean? But I think this is what you're talking about is a little different. This is like just like can't be bothered, not like throw you into the deep end and see how you do. There's a difference.
Yeah, I'm more talking about like maybe they are like, well, my career is more important, or what I'm doing is more important, and then I'll come get you when I'm finished.
Right, right, right. And I think you're definitely correct. That is the case here. So um, then we find out that they have yet to determine a motive. But Highland Park Mayor Nancy Roddering told NBC's Today Show that she was Cremo's Cub Scout leader. So she was like Pac Mom when he was a child, and said she is waiting for prosecutors to file charges against him for the shooting. She further said that the gun used in the shooting was obtained legally. And this is so important to the story, and it's going to circle us back to what we were talking about the other night. Um,
Aimee, I actually think I just read they've filed charges now, 7 counts of murder.
They do. I have the press conference that I'll play in a second.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's no. Okay. Picture of him in his room, like, oh yeah, he was normal. Nobody suspected him. I don't think a lot of people go around with a face mask and a GoPro, and I don't know. I mean, they do. Kids play, but there was some other stuff going on. I'm going to ask you some questions because you have like some really good input here in just 1 second. Let me just get through this part right here. Paul Crimo, the suspected shooter's uncle, tells Fox 32 that there were no warning signs suggesting that the young man would carry out the attack. The uncle also described his nephew as a real quiet kid, which is something that we hear often. Police have revealed new details about the attack, including the fact that the suspect was previously known to police after he made threats against his own family. Investigators said at a Tuesday press conference that they had first encountered Crimo when he tried to take his own life in April 2019. Look at that date, 2019. He's 22 years old, prompting a call to authorities who treated the case as a mental health emergency. So he's now 22. He's obtained a gun legally, but he's got documented mental health issues. And this isn't the only one. Then in September of that year, so September of 2019, a relative of Crimo called police and reported that in his family home, he had threatened to kill everyone, said Chris Cavelli, the leader of a police task force investigating major crimes in Lake County, which includes Highland Park. That report prompted police to remove 16 knives, a dagger, and a sword from his home. This goes without it saying. This is his FBI, wanted poster. During the attack, Crimo was dressed in women's clothing in order to conceal his facial tattoos and his identity. Christopher Cavelli, a spokesperson for the Lake County Major Crime Task Force, said at a news briefing Tuesday. Cavelli said Crimo fired more than 70 rounds and blended into the crowd. Cavelli said there are no indications anyone else was involved in the shooting. Here's a picture of him. I'm not trying to be funny. He looks like Perry Farrell from the Jane's Addiction video, Been Caught Stealing. It's
kind of does.
Yeah, so much. Like I'm just waiting for him to have a turkey under his shirt. This is him being apprehended. Even though Highland Park's municipal government banned assault-style guns within city limits in 2013, Cavelli said Crimo managed to legally obtain 2 rifles, including one styled after an AR-15 and at least 3 other guns in the general Chicago area, many parts of which do not enforce such restrictions. So I can't even with the mental health. If you want, I'll go ahead and play the news conference, but we both have to mute ourselves or we get
Yeah, we can do that. I just wanted to say something quickly.
Sure.
About the red flags thing. Well, you have those events that they, noted, but I think some of the YouTube videos he produced, even if they're not directly connected, I think some people were very quick to be like, oh, this is premeditated, but he lives in the town, you would do to a local, area and things like that. But, some of them are just very, they almost do seem like it was something he was thinking about, whether that's by events happening around the United States and obviously he was influenced by that, or because, I don't know, it was just on his mind a lot.
Yeah, I was thinking about the social. I'm glad you brought this up because, and I'll back up and tell people what you told me. So yesterday, obviously, it was 4th of July. In the morning, my mom calls me and says, did you hear? Are you watching the TV? And I said no, and she told me what was going on, and so I went in the other room. I mean, we don't shield our children from the world, but I also don't want them to be traumatized 24/7. You know, they were. I just don't. And I want a chance to, you know, Chris and I want a chance to digest it before we can talk about it, and they can ask questions and things. So in the meantime, we went to the coast and we drove over there, and you told me that you had grabbed a lot of things from the social media before it was all shut down. And that's correct, right? You were the
Yes, I archived his YouTube channel because I knew it would get pulled at some point.
right.
But on some snooping of that channel, he actually created a website with an entire archive of everything of his in one place that was uploaded. I think it was like only the night before. Now, some people are saying that wasn't actually him, it was one of his friends or supporters or
Mm-hmm.
someone who liked his music.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, it happened, and there was an entire archive on a website. So even if they did pull the YouTube channel, the website was up for a bit longer as well.
Right, because he fancied himself like a rapper too, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess so. I mean, if you read his Internet Movie Database page, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So sorry, I'm collecting my thoughts. So that brings like what I was saying, like the social media aspect of this into question. You know, we talk about Facebook police and fake news, and you're not allowed to post that, or this post might not be factual, or you know all that stuff that like Meta does and things like that. Um, I mean, in the U.S. we have the Patriot Act, so like we know that they can listen to our phone calls without search warrants, and they can, you know what, all of that stuff. And I guess I just kind of wonder, like, what kind of algorithms are they using that they aren't picking up on these people, or is there so much because a YouTube channel is pretty overt. We're not talking about the government that doesn't know. Well, actually, sorry, I'm all over the place. You know, there's new like platforms, or like new-ish platforms like Twitch, and of course like Ping and I can't talk on the phone, so we talk on Discord. You know, there's a lot of different things out there for communication, and then you have the WhatsApps and all that stuff. But I do believe that the government is hiring younger and more not necessarily always younger, but more like forward facing people to monitor this stuff and to look at this stuff. And I guess I'm just kind of like, is there so much going on? Are we worried about different things? Or like, how are we not? I would think that something like a YouTube channel like this, and some of the drawings, and then if he were to like pull his history or whatever, he would be kind of a concerning person.
It probably depends on what those thresholds are, you know, and what they considered it. Like I said before, maybe they would have just blown it off as, oh, he's just expressing himself about events that happen within his own country type thing. This is how they, teenagers process it through their art or, making videos type thing. That's what I'm worried about, that maybe that's what happened.
But I mean, right here, relative called police and reported that in his family home he had threatened to kill everyone, and they took 16 knives, a dagger, and a sword from his home.
It's definitely,
I mean, he was
that's definitely something that would be a red flag.
yeah. There was like people on the tarmac with the lights, like I know I'm Monday morning quarterback. I know that, and I know that it's not appropriate, but um, but I still shake my head because I sit here and I do the math. I mean, he's 22, right? So he was born in 2000. Yeah, he was born in 2000.
Yeah, Millennium Baby.
Yeah. So in 2019, he was how old?
20. Wait, what year are we? No, he was would have been 19.
19. He had been adult for a year. So, like, this stuff, these two incidences, the 16 knives, a dagger, and a sword, that one's is going to be on his adult, like, criminal background check, right? And then the, whatever you call it in your state, the Baker Act or the, mental health emergency that happened in April of 2019 would also be registered as a red flag. And so you would think when somebody is accumulating weapons that and legally accumulating weapons, that how did this happen?
Yeah, I definitely think, like we talked about the other night, there has to be some sort of like red flag that goes up when someone's had these call it mental health situations, and then they go and very suddenly start purchasing weapons. I think that should be a visit from the ATF at least.
Something. I mean, it just I can't with it anymore. Okay. You want me to go ahead and play the press conference?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so hold on one second. Let me get this off my screen. Just make sure that. Whoa, what just happened? Okay, let me. Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna go back and mute myself, and then I'll come back over here and hit play. But credit goes to the Peacock Channel 5 Chicago for this footage. Just 1 second here. And if it'll allow me to do full screen, I will do, yep, it will. I will do full screen. All right, hold on 1 second.
Good evening. My name is Eric Reinhardt. I'm the Lake County State's Attorney. As a resident of Highland Park myself, my family and I grieve with our neighbors over this unimaginable tragedy. On behalf of the State's Attorney's Office, I want to express my condolences to the families of those who lost their lives yesterday in this premeditated and calculated attack. Separate from those 7 lives that were ripped away, over 24 other mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, and neighbors were injured. Hundreds, if not thousands, will be psychologically scarred by yesterday's events. These individuals, our community, and Lake County will never be the same. We are grateful to the unbelievably courageous law enforcement officers who were there when the shots were fired right here in this pathway. They and other law enforcement agencies from throughout the state came to this spot of danger. They came to help, they came to protect, they came to comfort, and they came to investigate. Federal agencies, including the FBI, ATF, and U.S. Attorney's Office, have also been critical partners in this investigation, and you will hear a bit more from them this evening. These officers not only ran towards the danger, but worked tirelessly throughout the day and night to investigate and solve this case. I want to also thank all of the community members and business members and leaders who provided us with dozens of videos and photos. We continue our request for those photos and videos. This is still an open and active investigation. Please continue to contact all of the tip lines that we have suggested. To those who are physically and psychologically suffering today in hospitals and in homes throughout our community, we offer our most fervent and urgent prayers. We offer prayers for healing, even though it feels that it may be so far away. I know that Mayor Rotering and Highland Park Police Chief Lou Jogman, Lake County, and our federal partners have already started the critical work of supporting the individuals who need us so much. while they are in the throes of trauma. Today, our office deployed victim witness counselors and licensed therapists also to Highland Park. Dozens of private individuals have volunteered to help. This has been one of the most uplifting things I've ever seen in Lake County's history. The community has come together, even in the throes of trauma. The loss of life and these devastating injuries and the overwhelming psychological trauma demand we seek justice and that we take broader action to protect life. Today, the Lake County State's Attorney's Office has charged Robert Cremo III with 7 counts of first-degree murder for the killing spree that he has unleashed against our community. These are just the first of many charges that will be filed against Mr. Cremo. I want to emphasize that. There will be more charges. We anticipate dozens of more charges centering around each of the victims: psychological victims, physical victims, attempt murder charges, aggravated discharge charges, aggravated battery charges. There will be dozens of more charges against Mr. Cremo. But these 7 counts of first-degree murder will lead to a mandatory life sentence should he be convicted, without the possibility of parole. None of these charges would be possible again without the unbelievable efforts of law enforcement. I cannot thank them enough. I have to thank the men and women of the Lake County State's Attorney's Office who have been working with law enforcement since the moment that we identified a suspect. We continue to work with our federal partners to understand every aspect of this well-orchestrated and carefully planned crime. Tomorrow morning at the Lake County Courthouse, we will ask a judge to hold Mr. Cremo without the possibility of bail. As I mentioned, our support for victims started today, both from the State's Attorney's Office, from the Mayor's Office, from the City of Highland Park, from the Police Department, from the FBI Victim Assistance Group. We will guide them through the court process and deal with the trauma that will ripple forever outside of the courtrooms. But how do we make sure that there are no more victims? What should have been a celebration of freedom has ended in despair for our community. All of the people who died steps from here lost their freedom. All of it. Every ounce of freedom that they had. The freedom to love, the freedom to learn, and the freedom to live a full life. Their freedom matters too. We must do more as we think and reflect upon their freedom on this July 5th. Illinois has a strong red flag law that keeps communities safe and respects everyone's rights. We must vastly increase awareness and education about this red flag law called the Illinois Firearm Restraining Order. The goal of this tool is to ensure the safety of the individual and those around them. It allows courts to temporarily remove guns and prevent the purchase of new guns by individuals who pose a significant risk. As I said, this tool allows temporary removal from the subject and prohibits the new purchase during the duration of the order. It allows individuals to stabilize their behavior, seek treatment, and access other resources that our community must invest in to give those who need help. But separate from these red flag laws, which are very powerful in Illinois, we should also ban assault weapons in Illinois and beyond. The assault weapon ban was implemented in 1994 with bipartisan support and with the support of law enforcement. It lasted for 10 years, and studies have shown that mass shootings like what happened yesterday went down during those 10 years. We should have that same ban in Illinois and beyond, in the entire country. The Lake County State's Attorney's Office stands with the people of Highland Park. As I said earlier, this is where I am raising my family also. Our Violent Crimes Unit will continue to work with all of our law enforcement partners to continue to build this case As I said, it is an active and ongoing investigation. Our victim services unit will answer every question, every text, every phone call, and every concern. We will stand with the survivors of this awful crime for as long as is necessary. In the courtroom, we will seek the maximum sentence against this offender, not because we seek vengeance, but because justice and the healing process demand it. As we go forward in the courtroom and in the community, we must do everything we can to make sure the horror that marked these streets, that echoed from these buildings, never happens again. Thank you very much.
Okay, so there you go. I do have the ICJIA Red Flag Act up on the screen, and I can share that with you guys. But I know everybody realizes, but I keep having to remind myself that this isn't like a big city that has like bleachers on the street and like Times Square. This is a place where people line up their lawn chairs along the city place. They bring their kids, the fire trucks come by, and people, I mean, I was packing up my own kids yesterday to take them somewhere. This is just horrible. It's absolutely horrible. In the meantime, I do have, just so you know, Ping, I do have some other video pulled up that I can share, but I'm going to go ahead and show you guys this real quickly, just so you get an idea. And let me pop over to stream. I can't see what it looks like on your screen. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Because I know sometimes it's difficult to read. And let me zoom. If that works. Okay, yeah, that looks much better. Okay. All right. So here we go. Firearm restraining orders in Illinois. Illinois firearm restraining orders, known in other states as red flag laws or extreme risk protection orders, are civil orders that temporarily remove firearms from individuals who are a potential danger to themselves or others. These laws aim to prevent firearm injury through a removal of means from persons experiencing a temporary crisis. Data suggests firearm restraining orders have been infrequently employed in Illinois since the law's enactment in 2019. 2019 is a really big date in this story. Nationally, initial research suggests that these types of laws are associated with reductions in firearm suicide. However, national findings have not conclusively shown a significant reduction in firearm assaults attributable to these laws. As the majority of these laws have been passed relatively recently, more research is needed as data becomes available on their usage and outcomes. So I will put this link in the description because I'm not going to sit here and read everything to you, but they do have a protocol laid out for removing weapons in an emergency situation. The emergency situation, the emergency FRR, firearms removal order, the 6-month FRO, and the termination or renewal. So actually, let's just take a look at this really quick. In the emergency situation, a petitioner files for emergency FRO when the respondent is believed to pose an immediate threat to harm himself or others. So this would have occurred in 2019 when the alleged shooter had his mental health crisis in April. The emergency FRO is reviewed in an ex parte hearing as soon as possible. An emergency FRO is issued. A search warrant is granted for law enforcement to recover any firearms, and law enforcement removes any firearms and the respondent's FOID card. Okay? 6 months. A full hearing is held where the respondent has the opportunity to be present and state their case. If an emergency FRO was previously granted, the full hearing must take place within 14 days of issuance. The petitioner must provide clear and convincing evidence that the respondent accessing firearms presents a danger to themselves or others. And then it flowcharts out. One scenario: if FRO is not issued, the respondent immediately has their firearms and FOID card returned. If FRO is issued, law enforcement removes any firearms and the respondent's FOID card. For termination or renewal, the respondent may request one termination hearing while the FRO is in effect. The petitioner may request a renewal during the last 3 months the order is in effect. So you have all these like little scenarios. We all know how to read these charts. And the end scenario is if termination is granted, the respondent will have their firearms and FOID card returned, or if the renewal is granted. If termination is denied, law enforcement retains the respondent's firearms and the card, and vice versa. This clearly didn't come into play here. I don't know why. You can look right here. Requirements to file an FRO. Only individuals with certain relationships to those who are at risk are eligible to file an FRO petition against them in Illinois. Eligible individuals include blood relatives, like the uncle, the mom, the dad, presently married spouses, former spouses, persons who have a child in common, and household members, for example, roommates and unmarried partners. In other states, and I have to move my page, eligible FRO filers may include medical or mental health professionals, educators, and workplace colleagues. However, some states only allow law enforcement to initiate the process of firearm removal under the FRO law. When determining whether to grant an FRO, the court will consider all relevant evidence, including but not limited to a recent threat or act of violence by the respondent targeting themselves or another, which, by the way, happened in this case in 2019. A pattern of violent threats or acts targeting themselves or another. There's 2. Evidence of the abuse of controlled substance or alcohol by the respondent, any prior felony arrest, a violation of an emergency order of protection, a history of use or attempted use and threatened use of physical force against another person, which the last one we know. The other stuff still kind of out there. Not real sure. FRO laws are often modeled after domestic violence restraining orders. In Illinois, emergency FROs can be granted ex parte, where a domestic violence order of protection requires the respondent to take part in the hearing before firearms can be removed. The Consortium for Risk-Based Firearm Policy recommends that FRO laws establish a process for executing orders without a warrant in emergency situations, as well as a procedure that includes obtaining a warrant in non-emergency situations. Illinois FRO petitions must be filed with the circuit court where the respondent lives or any county in which the respondent was seen to present a danger to self or others, which I think is great because that means that, like, if I live here but my incident happened in my workplace, it's in both places. I think this is well written. In my opinion, it hasn't been executed. Alternatively, individuals can work with local law enforcement in the respondent's jurisdiction to carry out FRO filings. Most commonly used to prevent unaliving yourself. We all know the word. It's right here. Just can't say it. YouTube. We should really talk about it more, though.
Aimee, I'm actually interested in whether, if you ever have one of these against you, what effects, if any, does it do to you if you were to apply for another firearm in the future? Because there really should be something like, if you have one of these against you, let's say that semi-automatic and automatic weapons are still available like they are today, that should restrict you from any, like, class tier 1, weapons for 5 years, but you could still, like, get your handgun or your hunting rifle or something like that.
Right.
That's what I think anyway.
So let's see if it's included in here. Let's see. Let me go back to 5th grade where I can use my handy dandy table of contents. Structure requirements, impacts. We already did impacts. Law enforcement agency report. Yep. Yeah, that's where we were. So let's see. Firearm eligibility. We need to research this, and we need to look in other states and what their red flag laws are. But in the meantime, I will drop this link in the description because it is interesting. I do have.
Yeah, we can come back to it later and
Yeah.
do an update on that bit.
I do have some data sets. Let's see. In 2019, 8 FROs were sought claiming the respondent was exhibiting unaliving behavior. This word right here. Unaliving behavior. 4 respondents were alleged to be dangerous to others, and 2 were thought to be a danger to themselves and or others. Additionally, 5 FROs were filed in response to mental health issues or dementia. 2 were in response to DV, and 2 cited shots fired. In 2020, 6 FROs were sought due to self-concerns of self-harm. 8 were filed in response to threats of harm to others, and 2 reported the respondent was a potential danger to themselves and others. Then they do go through demographics. So yeah, we will. I don't, like I said, the accountability is on the alleged shooter. It is ultimately, but if we put red flag orders in place, I expect them to follow the SOPs, I guess, the standard operating procedures to evaluate people. And I just don't see. This is talking about infringement on Second Amendment rights. I totally support Second Amendment rights, and I have no problem with this. Future directions. Yeah, we'll have to go back and look. But definitely I'll drop this link in the description so you guys can take a look. And I never know.
It's interesting that it's only been used a handful of times in 3 years.
I'm sorry, I don't. Oh yeah, True Crime Unveiled is in here. It says we need funding for research. Yeah, I agree.
We do.
That, like, I'm not trying to be mean, but in that report, what they called a data set was kind of concerning.
What was it, like six incidents or something?
It was like 12. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's not a lot for you think about the population of Illinois, and then you only used it 12 times in 3 years. That's like 2 cases a year or something silly, like 3 cases a year.
Right. And you're talking about a state that has a city with the highest crime rate in the country. So
it's either not being used correctly, or the education is not there for people to know about it, be that police, therapist, whatever.
I think it's B, all of the above, or C, whatever. C, all of the above. Yeah.
Just pick a letter.
It's Z. Yeah, it's a problem. I was in my car a lot today, and I had a child in my car, so unless he had his earmuffs on, I wasn't talking about this. But when he was, I was on the phone trying to gather some information, which actually isn't a good idea for me to do because I'm ADD, and then I'm like, who said that? What said that? I have no way to write it down. Can I tape this phone call? No. There's no way to do that in your car anyway. So it's all crazy. I need to train one of the kids to take notes in the backseat. But anyway,
you need to turn one of them into your assistant.
Yeah, right. But most of the people that I talked to today are huge supporters of the Second Amendment, but they had no problem saying that groups like the NRA and things like that should consider funding this kind of research because although I'm not an NRA member, some people are, and Nobody wants I hate the word crazy, but nobody wants a mentally, because it does come down to mental health. Nobody wants a mentally unhealthy person going through a crisis or potentially going through a crisis having access to lethal weapons. Point blank. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's some hillbilly out there, that's like, everybody, don't matter. Those didn't breed and form an army. But I mean, for the most part, and I live in the South, I mean, for the most part, nobody wants that. So,
And it has flow-on effects too, like you were showing me last night in Orlando. I mean, that gets into someone's psyche, and the fact that how far away are those two places? Like 14 hours or something? Like, yeah.
Huge. Yeah. So here's the deal. So last night we drive over to the East Coast. That's where my mom lives. And we're gonna go watch, fireworks on the water. Hang out, barbecue and things like that. And the kids are gonna swim and it's gonna be super fun, happy Independence Day. And then this thing happens in the morning, and so my mom and my sister are talking about it. And traditionally in my family growing up, we always went to this place downtown called Lake Eola to watch fireworks. It's the place to go. There's two places other than the theme parks, which, I mean, I'm not a Disney adult, and I just don't go to theme parks anymore. I live here, and I honestly would feel rude taking up somebody's space that maybe saved up their money for a once in a lifetime trip for me to be there on a Saturday when I live down the street. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just weird like that. So I'm like, no. But anyway, so it's Crane's Roost is one place and Lake Eola is the other one. Lake Eola is downtown. So I get home last night. It's crazy. I get home at like 10:30 at night. And we have kids that have to be, or one kid that has to be at summer camp in the morning. And it's like an hour and a half drive. And her uniform isn't washed and she needs to take a shower. And it's like, we're up like really late. So while I'm saying like, you wash your hair, you get in your PJs, you eat something else, like all that stuff you do. I'm not even a big Facebooker, but I start like scrolling through Facebook and I'm getting these messages, and it's like my really good friends. And so they went down to Lake Eola for the fireworks, and there's a big amphitheater down there, and you're talking like 15,000 plus people. And at some point there was like a lull in the music, like the show had kind of just started, but there was like a problem with the music. And then there were some like pops, and some people freaked out, and it started this mass panic. And I will show you what this looked like last night. And I will tell you this. I can't like say names, but I have a friend that like works for the city in a very high position. She told me last night that there were parents throwing themselves over their children. There were people jumping into the lake. And then you see this. So give me a second. I'm going to mute myself.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. There's got to be a shooting or something.
So Orlando has a lot of high-rise residential buildings. So these were people on balconies who are like, they have nice places, like nice apartments with nice views. And so they don't go and fight the crowds. They have their own parties on their roof, or, whatever, and then they all watch them from the balcony. So these people in downtown Orlando are like hanging out on their balconies watching the fireworks. When they start seeing people just running through the streets, that I don't know why it's running so slow on there, and I apologize for it, but they're literally like running. And there was another video I saw. So like the lake is about 3 city blocks from the actual like nightlife downtown club area, like where the bars and the restaurants and things like that are, and the hotels. And so there were some people, well, there's always people down there, but there were people partying at the bars and stuff, and they're like hanging out outside, and they film things. All of a sudden they just see people rushing at them, and they're like, what's going on? What's going on? There's even a bike cop in the feed, and the bike cop just starts pedaling away from it too. I mean, it's insane. So the fear that this isn't supposed to be touchy-feely, it's supposed to be crime, but I think this is part of it. I think there's a lot of work to be done in how to prevent these things from happening. And I think one of the very easy, and I know I'm like, just kind of like, oh, it would be so easy. I could do it tomorrow. I can't do it tomorrow. I know it takes a lot of work. I do. I realize that. But it's work that needs to be done because it's a mental health issue. The solution is not removing guns. It may be removing access to assault weapons. I will agree with that. But there's a whole other argument that's constitutional with that too, and that I won't get into tonight. But bottom line is, what we see are people that are mentally unstable that are able to legally acquire guns, that have a history, have contact with law enforcement, and it's got to stop, because there's a whole bunch of people last night there's the people in Illinois that are traumatized because they were shot at, they were hiding in dumpsters, and they were throwing their children at other people. The people that lost family members. There's the people last night in Orlando that thought they heard something that the police say they didn't hear because they did an investigation. But I mean, for people to abandon their things and run through the streets and jump in the lake, I mean, this is insane. We can't live in this world like this.
And I mean, they didn't even wait to find out what that noise was. They were just gone. If you watch the video where they're up higher when you can see the wider view, it's like a swarm of fish. When the fish react to something like a shark, they're just like whoosh, and they're out of there. And the fact that someone or more than one family felt the need to throw their children and themselves into the water to protect themselves, it just goes to show like how this is affecting people on a national level.
Well, the thing is,
it's terrible.
It is terrible. And the more that this happens, the more you hear from people that teach you how to survive things like this. And I'm going to throw something else into the mix in a second, but these experts that tell you how to survive a mass shooting or whatever, it's run.
Yeah, it's get away from wherever it's happening.
Run away from the pew pew. Yeah. And
that man yesterday in the actual shooting, the one he put his kid in the dumpster, like, I gotta hand it to him. That was really clever, because I would never have thought of that. And he was just like instantly put his kid in the dumpster to protect him and said, "Hunker down here, I'll be back." Like, the fact that but it's just terrible though.
It is terrible. Last night in Orlando was crazy because we're coming out of Orlando has a huge gay population. And we're coming out of Pride. We're coming out of the anniversary of Pulse. It's still very, very raw. I know that a lot of people understand what Pulse nightclub shooting was, but it was absolutely devastating for this city. And it's right there. It's right near downtown. I mean, it's there. So a lot of these people that were down there, either new people that died in polls or a part of the LGBTQ community, so it was just a lot. And right before we went on tonight, I was looking, maybe I can find it on my phone. Was there a shooting in Las Vegas last night too?
There was a shooting somewhere I saw late yesterday,
Yeah.
like 6 hours after the Parkland, the one in Illinois.
Highland Park. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
So crazy. So that's what I have for tonight. I have another video, but I think I would rather not play it now that I think about it. I will say the pictures that came out today are so eerie, like so post-apocalyptic. Yeah.
Did you hear what one of the doctors said? One of the doctors that treated people that came in from the shooting, he said there was injuries to people that even as a doctor I would call unspeakable. And I actually saw one of the injuries that it was the old man, the elderly Mexican man.
The
He
88.
had such a bad injury. I mean, that photo should never have been released either, I don't think. That photo was horrible. But yeah, for a doctor to say they had unspeakable injuries, I mean, yeah. But also, I feel like we're going to be the gun channel, but no, we're not. We're going to do some true crime as well at some point.
But this is true crime. I mean,
I know.
it's a problem, and it's got to stop. And personally, I don't think enough people are talking about it. I think people talk about it when it happens, but they don't. I don't know.
Well, have you seen that photo that's like shooting and it's like, thoughts and prayers and it's like nothing and then it's like repeat and it's like
Yeah,
round in a circle.
that's exactly how I feel. Yeah. And it's always somebody, not always. It's not always, because I'll get called on that. We have 5 people watching me say always.
We love you, 5 people. We love you.
5 people. We do. Thank you. But usually at the root of it is mental illness. We have to do better.
Just got to get some more federally funded programs and better access for people and not be like, well, you don't have the healthcare, plan for it. You can't get help. And,
You know what?
Things like that.
I'll tell you, this pisses me off so badly. And it's probably you're gonna like come over from Australia and beat me with a wombat or something. Get like a bat, a wombat. For saying this so many times. It's probably a bad analogy, but about 15 years ago, I was working and I've always had trouble sleeping, but I was really having trouble sleeping, like sometimes like 2 days in a row. Like it would be like 48 hours and I hadn't slept at all. And you know how like problems go hand in hand. So like I was so tired, I was becoming depressed because I'd lay in bed at night and like cry because I wanted to go to sleep and then be edgy at work. And so I went to my doctor and he was like, I think if we got you on like a certain sort of medication, like an antidepressant type thing, he's like, I don't, there's no shame in it. I don't want you to think. And I'm like, I don't care. Just make me sleep. Because I was like, can you give me Lunesta? Can you give me Ambien? And we've heard all my stories about that. I've been down that path too. Well, anyway, he started to write me a prescription for like an MEO inhibitor or whatever. And at the last minute, he went through my health chart. You know how they ask you, like, do you have any allergies? Do you have any of this?
Yeah,
Well,
for any conflicts. Yeah.
yeah. So when I was younger, I had an eating disorder, and one of the side effects of this medication was extreme weight loss. And I was denied the
Ah.
medication. I was denied the medication because it was inferred that I had the potential to abuse it. Which I never, like, by the way, just so that everybody knows, I never took drugs to lose weight. I just didn't fucking eat. That was my fun thing that I like to do and ruin my body doing it. So if you're ever come across here, you see your mom watching this, you see your grandma watching this, you're young, you're whatever, you're 30 and you're doing it, don't, because it will destroy your body. It is not worth it. But so how is it that I can't get a medication to help me sleep because of something when I was a teenager, but like you can like have 16 knives starting to kill your family, try to kill yourself and go buy a gun. Tell me how that makes sense. It doesn't.
Yeah, it sounds like there's more restriction on medication than there is a firearm.
Right. Yeah. So it's bullshit as far as I'm concerned. The medical community has found a way to, I mean, we don't have like a centralized database or anything, but if you are forthright with your medical records, and if you have them transferred from physician to physician, and if you talk about your proper health history, it's there. And if you have a good doctor, they look at it. And so people are getting very excited about wombats. I have to tell you, I'm a huge fan of Patrick the Wombat. If you've ever seen him, he's very cute. And they push.
I don't think you're actually allowed to beat people with wombats, though. I think that's some sort of national crime.
Us crazy Americans were like, stop the gun violence, but beat people with wombats. It's terrible.
Yeah, I don't think Australia takes a very hard-line view towards native animals. It's one of the things that you grow up here learning, that native animals good, intruder animals bad.
I don't know what it was called. I'll be able to look at it. My kids not long ago were watching an animated cartoon about Australian animals, and the koala bear was like a little a-hole. He was like, they're all.
Was it called Death Walks Among Us?
No. I'll Google it on my phone right now. It's funny. Like the koala bear, like they're in some like zoo type of thing or whatever, and the koala bear is like the prized, like, everybody's like, oh, the koala bear is so cute, and he gets up and he does all this stuff, but he actually has a voice kind of like that baby from Family Guy, like
Oh yeah. Yeah, koalas in real life are actually really vicious. I don't think people understand that they are really violent, and they'll come down from their trees and they'll chase you, and they've got really long nails, and they'll gouge you to death.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I just pulled it up. It's called Back to the Outback. Came out in 2021. It's actually a good movie. That's my little tip for the day.
Your little Australian American crossover for the day.
Yes. Yeah, because I mean, I don't have anything to say about Nicole Kidman today. So, did you hear one of the doctors from Uvalde speak? The wounds from AR-15s are horrible. Yes.
Yeah, I heard that too. That was she? I don't think she was fully decapitated. I think they said almost.
Yeah.
That's horrible. I mean,
Yes.
and the sad part about that is, if her parents were still alive, I don't know if they, whatever, they would have to go ID her as well. And how sad is that? Like, you would have to see your daughter in that state.
Well, that's some of the things that I read about Uvalde, was that they couldn't identify their own children. The other
So
thing
it was all done by dental and DNA.
Yeah.
How terrible. I mean,
it's terrible.
sometimes when a relative or a child or someone dies, that moment of identification is traumatic, but it's also sometimes the last time they get to touch or see
There
them. So
it's an important part for some people. It's a very significant part of acceptance, which is like part of the grieving process. So yeah, that's terrible. Um, like it when it's later. Last night, what was it? I think I think I read that at like 2 o'clock in the morning they had these staging areas downtown, these reunification centers. These people had been this is in Orlando. People when they went running, they got separated from their families and then couldn't find like members of their family or their wife or I don't know. Maybe they dropped
what?
their cell phones.
Still, like 2 hours later, they couldn't find the
Yeah,
people they were with.
yeah, because there were so many people down there.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so it's crazy. They're lucky they didn't stampede each other. Honestly, that's one of my like huge fears. But let's not start that because I'll like go down a big thing and nobody wants to hear about that. So I think that's all I have for tonight. Do you have anything, or you want to wrap
I
it up?
had a little bit of true crime, like other true crime that we can talk about.
Okay.
I saw an article today. I'll read it to you. It's Ohio dance teacher accused of raping 12-year-old child several times, and this is a female dance
Female. I saw
teacher.
that.
Yeah, but I wanted to at least say it because I think sometimes we don't report on the female sex offenders enough,
Oh, I agree.
and they often get swept under the carpet more than the men do.
I agree with you. And you know what? I saw. Is it okay if I tell you this real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. So I saw something the other day, where I guess it was some like weird like Instagram war between, or like everybody was mad at this woman on Instagram, and here's why. She was at a pool, and she's kind of like an influencer or whatever, and there were a bunch of families there. They're all friends, like, and there were some teenage boys in the water, and she's a very attractive woman, and she flashed her breasts at the teenage boys in the pool. And it was like censored on Instagram or whatever, but they were like joking about it, and other people picked up on it. Like they saw it in the feed and they started saying like, that's like completely inappropriate. And she's like, we're at the pool. It's my family, my rules, my friends, my rules. But I started to think, I was like, would it be that way if it was her husband pulling down his pants at girls?
Exactly. I think a lot of that type of stuff with we're getting to this point where a lot of the stuff like, oh, if that was a man, he'd be in jail. That's got to stop. We've got to be more like, especially with sexual assault or sex crimes or anything like that. It's the same for male and female. You do anything like that, you should be treated the same, and the book should be thrown at you, especially if you're dealing with kids.
I agree, 100%. It's there's like a weird double standard that I don't care for. I don't know. I feel
Because
like,
a lot of these sexual, like this Ohio dance teacher, and look, I've seen more this year female teachers getting done with like rape or sexual assault or keeping relationships with students this year more than I have seen with males this year. But it's not talked about. Yet if there was a man who was starting a relationship and then raping a 14-year-old girl, it would be the biggest news crime like ever. There'd be like podcasts about it, there'd be a TV show, Dateline would come in. We've
yeah,
got to stop. Got to throw light onto these female abusers as well and get it to stop. It's not fun. It's not like, oh, he wanted it. He was 15. All they think about is sex anyway. It's still wrong. It screws up their development.
It does.
Let them go try that stuff with a girl their own age and let them have a normal teenage years. You know, you don't need to be doing crap like that.
No,
And we need to call it out more.
I agree. And it totally screws them up. A really wonderful person that I dated a very long time ago. His first sexual experience was with his babysitter. She was 19 and he was 12.
See, that's too big of a, like, I mean, if it was 16 and 19, you could kind of be like, you know, I see it, but 12's still too young. Even at 12, they know what sex is and what it does and stuff, but they don't actually understand the ramifications. They don't understand the emotional side of it and a lot of other things about it, and it's just wrong.
Well, it's still a person in position of power.
Exactly.
And so, you know, I mean, there's nature and there's ego, but in a healthy relationship, it's supposed to be void of that. You know, there's always a little, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not, no. That's gross.
Yeah, I think 12, it makes you a pedophile. That's all it is. You are a pedophile. It doesn't matter if you're male or female, you're trying to sleep with 12-year-olds. It's, yeah, you're a pedophile basically. Or what? It's got a different name for that age range, doesn't it? It's like something else, but you know what I mean.
Well, I mean, there's different classifications of sex offenders. There's
Yeah, I just got our video blacklisted from any advertising, didn't I?
That's okay. I believe in using the. I've always said, like, I want to call it what it's supposed to be called. I don't like potty words. I don't like baby words. You know, like, because there's a reason why we have the word. I mean, if it's in our penal code, like, why can't we say it? Shoot. Hold on.
Is that an ES alarm?
That is an Amber Alert. So I'll tell you, it's out of Palm Beach County, Florida. Ashley Reyes Hernandez missing since July 2nd. You heard it on like 4 phones going off in the house. She's 15 years old. She's female, brown eyes, 5'4", 162, brown hair, out of Jupiter, Florida. And Oliver Ramos. We don't know how old he is. He's the abductor. We don't know how old he is. He appears to have vitiligo, like, you know, where your is it vitiligo? Where your skin, or is that where your hair falls out?
Oh, I don't know.
I'll pull it up. Hold on. Anyway, let's see. I'll just pull up the recent Amber Alert. But that's what you heard was my phone call.
I found the thing. I just don't know how to get to it. I can't click on it.
Oh no.
It's like it shows me the Amber Alert, but it doesn't show me how to get to it. Oh, I've got the Fox News 13 article. I'll post it.
Here we go. Hold on 1 second, guys. I'll put it up. Here we go. I might have to make it bigger. I do have to make it bigger. What is it with the skin? It is vitiligo. Thank you, Shiva's girl. It's so good to see you. Alopecia is the hair. Vitiligo is the melanin issue with the skin. Yeah. All right. Maybe that might be too big. I don't know. You guys, I don't know what I just did.
It gave me a name for the person she may be with. Did you not see that name on your one?
Yeah, I said it. The Ramos.
Oh, sorry.
That's
Don't know why
okay.
I missed that.
He's the one that has vitiligo.
Oh, gotcha. Yep, I see it.
Yeah. So, yeah. Let's see if I can make it a little bit. Is that too big? Now I gotta scroll. So crazy. Whoa. There's a lady with eyelash crafts. Ugh. Right, that might be. There we go. Yeah, okay, so yeah, he's Oliver Ramos. We don't know his age. So he's 5'7". A Florida Amber Alert has been issued for Ashley Reyes Hernandez, last seen in the area of the 100 block of 4th Street in Jupiter, Florida, who was last seen wearing a black hooded sweater and a black and yellow t-shirt, light blue jeans with rips, and black high-top Adidas shoes. The child may be in the company of Oliver Ramos, who was last seen wearing a white long-sleeve Hollister shirt with blue sleeves, light blue jeans with rips, black socks, and black and gold sandals. He sounds like a winner. They may be traveling in a dark-colored minivan with tinted windows. It always bugs me, the hashtag. I know it's FL Amber, like Florida Amber, but every time I look at it, I think Flammer. I'm like, the B must be silent.
It always looks to me like it's some sort of gay pride thing. Like, come to Flamber.
I know. Or like Flamburgers, or I don't know. It's weird, but
Yeah, maybe they should do like just, I don't know, some other way of doing Florida Amber Alert.
Yeah, but Flamber does not work. Flambert. So, anyway. But no, I agree with you with the females. So, completely crazy. Oh, wow. Okay, here we go. Music Biz Marty. I lived in Highland Park, had my whole life except for college. The lack of truth coming forth here is disturbing. In what form? Please tell us. I'm always wanting to hear other.
Yeah, we're interested to hear from someone local.
Mm-hmm. So, please jump in and share. There's no this. If people haven't seen us around the block, we're not YouTube virgins, I guess. And I think both of us have always had the opinion that we're here to discuss true crime, and discussing means listening to other people's opinions. And I am very willing to change my mind about things. And I'm very, very willing to listen, as long as we're not talking about, crazy, outlandish, or things that might be offensive to.
As long as you're not abusive, offensive, or go really deep down the rabbit hole, we're here for you.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah. So, Music Biz Marty, if you'd like to jump in, I can drop a link. Hold on one second. I'll put it in chat.
Marty, I would not be surprised if that is true. He probably had some help somewhere. I don't know if you mean on the day or just in general, like in the planning or something. I think so. It's probably true.
The only thing is, Music Biz Marty, because we're new acquaintances, you don't have to use your photo, like you don't have to be live like I am. You can use an avatar like Ping, but when you click on that link and come backstage, if you could just show us. Oh my god, sorry, I don't know what just happened there. If you could just like show us your face so that we're not ambushed by anything.
Yeah, so you're not like gonna show us monkeys or something.
We want to make sure you have your clothes on.
That's the nice way of saying it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say it. I think we just need to be adults and be honest here. There's a problem. Some people like to, wave the flagpole, and we're just not so into it. So.
Yes, we have prior experience with people wanting to do their own puppet shows.
Yes, we do. So, but I am, in all seriousness, I would love to hear your perspective. And I see what you're saying. Even in this post right here, where you say if it can happen here, it can happen anywhere. My goodness, I've said that about a lot of things. So okay, I prefer not to.
That's okay.
But I'll show you. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much for understanding. We'll just wait on that for a second. Ping, can you hold the fort for a second? Because
Yeah, I can hold the fort while you do something. Yeah.
I have a child issue that I need to attend to just very quickly.
Yeah, that's okay. Marty, you just have to, when Aimee comes back, you just have to show her your face for like 1 second and then we'll bring you on. And before we bring you on, you turn off your camera and then just come on with the avatar like me.
Ping,
You don't need to prove to us anything other than that.
No. Ping, do you have your are you
Oh, can I do the let me see.
are you on as an admin? I'll just Christian, hold on 1 second.
I am. I think I can see the participants. I don't know if I can bring them on though.
That's okay. I'll sit and wait. Christian, just hold on 1 sec, baby. I can't sing the Pink Panther song. Oh, you don't have to do that. We just want to honestly, we just want to make sure you're wearing clothes. That's it.
That's all. Just want to make sure you're not naked.
Yeah, because people put up an avatar and we're like, oh, it's so good, and then all of a sudden it's like they turn their camera on. It's like, oh lordy. No worries. There you are. I see you. Perfect. Okay. Put your avatar. Good. All right, and I'll add you to the stream. Perfect. Okay.
Greetings.
Hi, Marty.
Hey, how are you guys doing tonight?
Good. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. I am going to step away for 2 seconds. This is very unprofessional. I don't usually do this, but I do have a child downstairs who is having a little meltdown. So
You can talk to me, Marty.
Yes.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, while I wasn't there during the time of the shooting, I made a point of, and again, I grew up in the area. I've been a North Shore resident my entire life, and it's just such a picture-perfect community, just ideal values, and it's relatively affluent. And I got to say this as well. It's troubling to think that in Chicago, anyways, like these mass shootings are a common occurrence. But that's neither here nor there. In a single instance, there isn't this level of depravity, I suppose. And I guess certain people become accustomed to this happening in their communities, but walking down Central Avenue or Park Avenue, you could just never imagine this or envision this. But I also must say this, that anyone who's lived here has known about Bobby and his cohort, Chance. And I don't know if you saw the latest news, but Bobby dressed up as a woman to try to aid in his escape.
Yes, we did see it. So that you're saying that was common knowledge throughout the town?
Well, I think a large part of this is that Bobby was in an abusive relationship in which he was oftentimes the abuser with this man named Chance. And both of them were loners. Both of them were aspiring rappers. Both of them became kind of isolated from the community, and they spent time with each other, or they spent time alone on the internet. And from everything that I've observed, and which basically everyone in the town knows as well, is that they had a very toxic relationship. And my cousin was at the Dairy Queen, which was right across the street from Gearheads, which used to be known as Uncle Dan's, which is basically a outdoor camping type sporting goods type store where they sell tents and things. And my cousin was briefly separated from my nephew and his son, and thankfully the child survived. My nephew wasn't hurt, but as they're exiting the Dairy Queen, like they start hearing this pop, 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 and I just shudder to think that he's going to spend his entire life being afraid of large crowds, and it's really kind of devastating. But when I spoke with my cousin, he's also lives in Highland Park too. He grew up here, and then he moved to Chicago. Well, first he went to college, but then when he came back, he moved to Chicago, and over time he was able to save up enough money, and then he moved back to Highland Park, his hometown, with a high school sweetheart. And I've heard this from multiple people as well. They're familiar with Bobby. They're familiar with Chance. And it's going to sound crazy, but he says that it was not Bobby on top of that roof.
Really?
Yes. And in fact, and I believe this, I really do, knowing the two of these, this gruesome twosome, this Chance guy, they would often spend time congregating at skate parks and things, and they were known vandals, like known miscreants, and they would get into all sorts of shenanigans. But Chance was always Bobby's puppet. He was kind of like his patsy and his fall guy, and that was an ongoing thing. And I firmly believe, deep down in my heart of hearts, that, and you'll notice that they've only named Bobby as a person of interest.
And they have come out and said that they do believe that he acted alone. So I'm wondering, no pressure here, but have you shared this with law enforcement?
I have shared this with law enforcement, and you'll notice that the chief of police has continually stated that he doesn't want to yield anything that will contaminate the investigation or tip anyone off. You'll notice that up until the manhunt had really began, that they wouldn't say Bobby's name. They knew well in advance, right? They were familiar, and they have to keep things close to their chest. If you're playing a poker game, you don't want to put your cards on the table, right?
Sure.
Right.
And I don't know if this is part of, like, Chance is known to, I think they're called, I don't know what the term is, like femboys. Like they're like cross dressers, I suppose. And that's what he's into. And I think Bobby ultimately wielded this over Chance's head. And he compelled him to do things that normally he wouldn't do. Now, both these people were familiar to law enforcement, both Bobby and Chance. And everyone in the town knows. Literally everyone in the town knows. You can ask just about anybody that there's no way that he was not involved. And I believe that either, whether it be tonight or early this morning, definitely before, what time is dusk? Like 5 a.m.?
Something like that.
Yeah. By dusk, the name Chance Wilkins will be a national name. And again, there are multiple people, like the McCarthy family, who were tragically gunned down. They're neighbors. an uncommon name, but it's I believe it's pronounced Wangus. It's Angus or Wangus. It's Oengus, Ravenwood. Um, he was at the parade. He had definitely seen what was going down. There's Eric Scrubble, who was also there, and they were in the immediate line of gunfire, and they were there and they saw it, and they tell me that it was not actually Bobby on the roof, but it was actually Chance. And I almost feel kind of foolish for putting this out there. Like, I don't want to foil any investigations. I don't want this guy to go on the lam. I don't want to give him the heads up and give him the jump. But everyone that I've heard from, and I think there's an element of fear here, that they all say that, and I think they're afraid to come forward and say it, since the actual gun is still out there. But everyone is convinced, everyone knows, everyone who's there knows and says and reiterates that, yes, Bobby was most likely the getaway driver. Chance is afraid to drive. He's never had a driver's license, and Bobby would always drive him around. But everyone who's there tells me, or has told other people who've told me, that it wasn't actually Bobby on there, if it was Chance.
That's interesting, because I had thought about just the logistics of it, that he's up on a ladder and then he's dressed as a woman to escape and manages to get to a car.
And no one sees that. Like, no one sees that coming from a roof. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I would say this, like, you could very well be correct in that they are looking at other people. They're just trying to secure arrest, or they're trying to pressure the suspect in custody to give up.
They may have been hoping he was in the car yesterday, and when they got that car, like when they arrested, he wasn't there, and they were like, "Oh my God, what now?"
Right.
Yeah, and it's no coincidence to me. It's no. I definitely think it was by design, but they only referred to him as a person of interest, and I even saw some news reports calling him an accomplice. So I do think that ultimately he will be charged with murder, as he was the getaway driver. Okay, like, that's just how statutes work, and there's no doubt in my mind that he will be. He'll roll over on Chance. Okay.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Both these people were known to tag up, which is code for graffitiing up local synagogues, whether that be Beth Hillel, or whether that be Am Shalom. Chance and Bobby, and it was always Bobby pushing him to do these things, but he defecated in a hole on the Lakeshore Golf Club, and he never did this on his own. I don't know who is the toxic influence. It's the whole thing is just.
So what do you think? Because in the press conference, or actually not in the press conference, in the press itself, we hear that they have not identified a motivating factor for this. So it's two questions, if you can answer either one. So the first question is, what do you think the motivating factor for this was? And two, I'm curious about the second person that you're mentioning. Does he have, because you say he's known to law enforcement, so does he have something equal or similar in his background to what we see in the person that they have in custody right now?
I'm glad you asked that, because I actually have a video of him brandishing the weapon that was recovered from the scene on a video. Do you want to see it?
Can you send it to me?
I can share a screen, but I can definitely here. Give me one moment here. I can. This is StreamYards, right? Yeah. Okay. So I can definitely do that, and you'll hear him making like anti-Semitic comments and diatribes. And this is a predominantly Jewish community. Well, not predominantly, but I think it's about 40%. But I believe that this was 1,000,000% racially or culturally motivated. So let me pull this up here. And you'll hear him calling, he threatened myself, and I needed this for court purposes, but also he threatened schmeckles, which is Yiddish for penises. And he's calling the community a bunch of penises. So let me pull this up here. Okay, let me. When you look at this guy, he does have a very weird look, much like Bobby. I think that's what drew them together. Here, 1 second here. You'll see him brandishing the weapon from the crime scene, and the FBI knows all this. Okay, here, one moment here. Hang on. Okay. All right, it's back there.
Okay.
This is his apartment right off of Lloyd Street in Highland Park.
Okay. Ping, do you want to look at that real quick?
There's nothing on there. I mean, I understand that if like.
Yeah, I just want to be.
Sure. Well, I can play the audio for you, so you can hear this. So you don't even have to look at it, but.
I'm done playing these games. You want to get dangerous, Marty? We can get dangerous, bitch.
And then he pulls out the
Because the
weapon.
next bullet, I guarantee you, Marty, and this is for you too, Schmeckle.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Marty.
Sure.
When was this video?
It was roughly, I believe it was the tail end of last year. I know it was after Hanukkah.
Okay, so it was in 2020, end of 2021.
Yeah, and so I have some more audio here of and like just this is the crime was definitely 1,000,000% racial and cultural. I have some audio from reiterating and repeating the N-word. I don't know if that will get you in trouble. I don't want to.
It probably would for us, Marty.
I don't want to do.
Is there any reason why he's particularly targeting you?
Yeah, I just as like, and the whole goal. I work with both these youths in a very limited capacity, more so chance to give them like a self-esteem boost in a way by helping promote their rap careers. And it was the biggest mistake I've ever made. I know that it will ultimately bring me a lot of flack and a lot of heat when all this comes to the surface. But yeah, and if you look at, can I show you a picture of this Chance guy? Like he's a very eccentric looking fellow.
I would like to see it.
Sure.
Okay, so
Here, let me just. This is.
But I don't want to be responsible for outing somebody on the internet either.
Sure. This was when he strangled his grandmother. Okay. And he's got an odd look to him. I'll give you that. Let me take that off there. Okay. I don't mean to. Okay.
Because I'm fine with
Yeah.
We don't want to start like another Boston Marathon thing where
right.
you know another person was fingered for something and it came out later on that. Not that we're saying you're lying, Marty. We're just saying weird stuff happens sometimes.
Yeah. I'm not saying that at all. I like Ping said. I'm just very careful about like if law enforcement releases the photo, like that's free game, but I don't want to be responsible for something.
Not that we don't appreciate your information on the local area and what's going on. We do.
We do.
Here I would have to upload this because I have some, and they're just they're videos that you probably would have seen just on their own, but like I have myself at the scene, and it's just so crazy seeing this small idyllic community and being turned into such a scene of bloodshed.
Okay, so now we've got, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sure.
Now I've got a second person in here. Do you know this person? Audrey Mistress, be welcome. Thank you for joining us. Says Chance, like I say last name, is a number one behind this.
I do. I do. And she is also a resident of the community. And we're trying to raise awareness. And see, here, there's a certain element of this too, where I'm not sure if you've read or not, but Bob Creamel II actually ran for mayor.
Yes.
Yes, and he owned what was originally the White Hen Pantry and eventually turned into Bob's Deli.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that the police department is turning a blind eye to Chance because they want to pin all this on Bobby. And I think now that the FBI is involved, that's not going to fly. Like they have no rooting interest. I worry that the Highland Park Police Department has been trying to contaminate things, but the FBI are very sharp. They're very astute. They've got a lot of hunt. You know, they're not going to allow petty political interests pin all of this on just one person. Okay?
No, they want to find the truth, and they'll get there. If this guy is involved, I'm sure that they will eventually get to that point. Probably that person will probably end up being arrested, and then that name will come out, like you said.
Yeah. Interesting. Because so I'm not trying to grill you. I want to know, because based on, you know, what we've kind of discussed here tonight and your interactions, what these individuals said to you would be considered a hate crime.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if did you report that?
The video of him pointing the gun at me and saying that he was going to put bullets in the heads of all the schmeckles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have it on video. I needed it for court.
Oh, okay.
I have a restraining order against this person, and
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? We were talking earlier about the red flag laws in Illinois and the restraining orders for guns and stuff, and we had just had a conversation the other night about criminal background checks for people that are, you know, they turn 18 and 5 days later they go and buy a gun legally.
Yeah.
And they pass their background check because yay, they've been good for 5 days. But then you find out that prior to being 18 they had all kinds of stuff, you know, that would be, you know,
well, it's
everywhere.
Yeah,
is that what happened here?
I believe that, and I have to say believe, but I know in my heart of hearts that Bobby merely purchased the guns for Chance, and the weapon in this video, it's the same weapon. It's an AR style assault weapon, and they don't like calling them assault weapons. What do they call them? Like high velocity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the same weapon that was recovered. Like, hello, people. And I understand not wanting to show the weapon. I understand not wanting to play their hand, but I do believe, especially with his connections to the Akron area, that it would behoove of the Highland Park Police and the FBI to show Chance Wilkins' face. And essentially that's what I'm trying to do before he escapes back to his family in Akron. And it's troubling knowing that he might slip through the cracks here. I mean, thankfully, he's got a very distinctive appearance. And I think it'll be difficult for him to go on the lam and to go undetected. And let's just say that I think he'll have a hard time going under the radar with that punum, which is Yiddish for face. You know, he's got a very unusual appearance.
Yeah, but yeah.
And I feel like compelled here. Anyone that sees this man please contact local law enforcement.
Has anybody seen him around since this happened?
No.
So he's like in hiding, I guess.
Yeah. I was shocked when they pulled that car over. But granted, it was on 41 heading towards Lake Forest, which is more so north than it is east. That he wasn't in the passenger seat. I was more than certain that he would have been right along for the ride. And again, these are all my own opinions and the opinions of virtually everyone in the community, especially everyone that was there during the scene of the shooting. This does not reflect the opinions of this channel or its guests, but yeah, as far as I'm concerned, and everyone that I've spoken with, these are the absolute cold hard facts.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate hearing from you, though, Marty. It's nice to hear from someone in the area.
Yeah, and I want, like, you wonder what motivated any of this, and can I play some audio of like him? Oh no, it's against the terms of service, I guess. Him screaming racial epithets, but everyone in the community.
Yeah, our channel will get blacklisted in like a second if you do.
Yeah, you wouldn't want that. Man, it's difficult being kind of like handcuffed by policy in bringing the real gunman to justice. But now that the FBI is involved, I'm sure that they will do what they have to do. And it's just, this whole thing is just so jarring and alarming.
You can tell by the way that you're processing and reflecting upon it that you're still trying to make sense. That's understandable. I would say, make sure that obviously you've kept all this stuff and share it with the FBI, you could share it via ic3.gov. Share it with local law enforcement.
A lot of people have.
Yeah, so
well, hopefully they're just onto it and they're just, ticking I's and crossing T's and just tracking him down and trying not to, let him know that they're onto him.
Yeah, I think that they need to publicize this picture so they can scoop him up. I'm sure all local law enforcement has been alerted, but I also think that any citizens should be also made aware in case they see him meandering about and wandering around. And
right.
I thank you for your time.
Oh no, we appreciate it.
We really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I was just about to say, I see this comment. This could put you on the YouTube map. I'm not interested in being put on the YouTube map for someone trying to put something, trying to put something on us or whatever. I mean, this isn't our first rodeo. I appreciate everybody that calls in and everything else, but I think that last 5 seconds of the phone call, I think Ping and I kind of called it behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're all for getting at the truth, but we have to be careful as well.
Yeah. So, on that note, let's think about, P and I have to get together and think about what I think we were talking about maybe Thursday.
Yeah, I think we can come back Thursday. I think that's a good day. So
we'll firm that up. And I can tell you guys, like most of you there's 7 wonderful people in our chat. And I know you guys really well. And I know Ping has had the same experience. I have literally had people send me pictures that I'm like, oh my gosh, and I just forward them to law enforcement. I don't talk about them on the air. I'm not here to solve crimes. I'm here for true crime discussion or what have you. There's been over time a lot of hoaxes, a lot of doctored texts, a lot of just photoshopped crap. And sometimes things are real, and always give people the benefit of the doubt, and not saying what just happened right now isn't real. But I do feel I do feel like I have a responsibility to say this. I am not comfortable naming people as suspects that haven't been named by law enforcement, discussing their first and last names, or posting their picture. That is not responsible for
Poor journalism for a start.
it is. It is. And I kind of, and I'm glad you said the word. I kind of avoided it because I didn't want anybody saying, but you're not a journalist. Just as a human being, we don't do that. So although I was interested to hear that perspective, I'm not about posting other people's faces. And Ping, what was it? We're not going to mention the little girl's name, but it was the case out of Australia where they released the wrong photo for the person that had kidnapped the child.
Right. So when the suspect was announced, the people on Facebook actually pulled up a photo which they thought was the guy. It ended up being a guy with the exact same name, but from a different town. And he was attacked in his own town by people. And that's the kind of situation we really want to avoid. It's not because we don't want to get to the truth or we don't want to help. It's just that we don't want to destroy someone else's life, on the off chance something's disconnected somewhere.
Yeah. And those kind of things need to go to the authorities, that be processed by them, be dealt with by them. That is not for Aimee and Ping. And
We're not law enforcement.
No. Yeah. And as much as I love us, and I love our friendship, and I love our friends that are here, I mean, come on. I mean, they just showed up here tonight. So.
All right, Miss Amy, I think that's going to be the call to wrap it up for tonight.
I think so too. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. It's always great to see everybody, and thank you.
Please like, subscribe, and come back on Thursday if we're here.
Yeah, definitely. So, in the meantime, stay safe, be grateful, and eat the snack you're telling yourself that you shouldn't be eating, because life is all about the good snacks. That's my tip for the day. So, good night, everybody.
Adios.